Remember Benji, the adorable little terrier spaniel mix from those beloved films? And who can forget Benji, Zax, and the Alien Prince from 1983? Absolutely everybody.
Don't let's be silly.
I'm Victor, and straight out of the Gen Experience, movie to TV series adaptations that should have never seen the light of day. But somebody gave them the green light. It would be a shame not to roast, explore some of the TV shows we were watching based on favorite films of the Gen Experience. There have been TV shows based on films since the golden age of Hollywood. There was even a TV prequel series inspired by 1942's classic Casablanca in 1955 and 1983. Were you watching? Well, I know you're watching this, so please click and like and consider subscribing before we get started. With the movies being all wrapped up, there was more money to be squeezed from the Planet of the Apes IP. Rights purchased by CBS, they immediately greenlit a TV series. Airing on Tuesday nights, the premise is similar to the original film, and this time with Starsky and Hutch in the leads. But with Dr. Zaius in the cast, the events of more than 10 years prior are not ignored. Cornelius and Zira are obviously dead, as canon seems to be somewhat respected, but Roddy McDowall couldn't stay away. Hey, when you got a good thing going, am I right? Here he plays Galen, and the apes are at it again, with human astronauts who don't need the Statue of Liberty to know that this is Earth. Even with Mark Leonard, Spock's father from the original Star Trek series and films, playing against type as the violent Major Urko in this TV adventure series, it only took Chico and the Man and Fred Sanford to spell disaster for the sci-fi action drama, as comedy was much more important than Space Apes. Possibly the most entertaining in our little retrospective here, poor ratings during Tuesday's Family Hour secured only one season. Nevertheless, I loved it in reruns. How about you? Or were you a fan of the 1975 Saturday morning cartoon? This must be Sanctuary, because in Logan's world, I would have already faced Carousel and been renewed. And by renewed, I mean savagely killed when I hit 30 years old. The network must have also thought they found Sanctuary when taking this surprise sci-fi hit to the small screen in 1977. It seemed on track to continue the story of Logan 5 and Jessica 6, but then goes and makes a hard left turn, depicting the pair continuing to search for Sanctuary with the Sandman hot on their heels. Either they ignored the end of the film, or no one listened to them or Peter Ustinov's old man, and now they're fugitives in various cities we never knew existed, looking over their shoulders for their hunter, Francis Seven, not dead in the TV series. Francis has been offered a deal from the previously unseen Dome City Mafia, whereas if he captures Logan and Jessica, they will assure his life continues past the 30-year expiration date. The look was on par with the movie, and sadly the special effects too. But at least there was no box. After Star Wars, there were those who felt these needed elevated effects, which would have meant a bigger budget. Battling low ratings, only 14 episodes were aired, with 3 remaining lost in time. Farrah Fawcett was out of a job. Maybe they should have resurrected Holly, her character from the Logan movie, to pick up the ratings. Too little too late, right? This one could have been a winner. From what I understand, it was a lot of fun, but I understood very little at that age. Based on the highly successful R-rated comedy Animal House, many of the actors returned for this TV try in 1979, Delta House. No, not that Delta. Josh Mostel, son of Zero Mostel, played Bluto's brother Blotto, since Jim Belushi wasn't going to be there. And even Michelle Pfeiffer got in the fun as the object of everyone's affection. She appeared in every episode and, looking back, said that no matter what you thought of the show, she got the visibility needed on her way to stardom. Delta House suffered as one of 2 shows that were neutered for content. Airing during Sunday night's 8 p.m. Family Hour didn't help. If you need a reminder of what Sundays were like, 5 short years later, Jessica Fletcher would own that time slot for almost 10 years. So this rowdy college comedy with oppressed content was never welcome on Sundays. Perhaps if streaming were around, it would have had a better shot. Then again, contemporary media will not stand for such hijinks. Sexual promiscuity and booze chugging for college fun won't go unpunished in our current prudish Hollywood climate. With 5 episodes in the can, but only 3 aired in the US before it was canceled, no one would blame you for relegating this spin-off of popular sci-fi film Westworld as garbage. Nope, the modern Westworld on HBO was not the first, or even the second, or even the third incarnation. Beyond Westworld is long before the 2016 reboot and a direct sequel to the original film from 1973, while ignoring the events of the original movie sequel, Future World. Whew. Emmy nominated for art direction and makeup tells you that this sequel series had high praise among fans, but most likely too high a budget. But to help keep costs down, they cast Elvira as an extra. The 80s were changing and comedy was on the rise. With losses from advertisers, CBS decided to cut some of the dramas, and this sci-fi theme park with killer animatronics got the axe. But I think you'll find this more dramatic Five Nights at Freddy's simply ahead of its time. This would have been right up my alley. Was it up yours? If you were tuning in expecting teen sexual escapades or flagrant drug use, you were going to be disappointed. Like Delta House, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the TV series based on the 1986 film, fell victim of toning down what kids initially went to the movie for, just to make parents feel comfortable. 7 seemed a good small number of episodes for CBS to say they tried, before abruptly ending this show that couldn't live up to the legacy of the original coming-of-age 80s film. Ray Walston as Mr. Hand and Vincent Schiavelli as Mr. Vargas were the only actors from the film to reprise their roles for the TV series, but Oingo Boingo did the theme song. Plus, it had Claudia Wells. Would-be big-time TV stars Courtney Thorne-Smith and Patrick Dempsey were even in this doomed experiment. The obvious unavoidable sanitization of the source material was ultimately the downfall. Many of the TV series that derive from fan-favorite films could be sanitized due to content for TV, stray too far from the source material. That one still happens today. Or they're a one-trick pony. That's the case with GungHo. Based on the Michael Keaton 80s comedy, which I did see in the theaters, the 1986 comedy series was more of the same thing. GungHo counted on the cultural differences between a Japanese car company in Pennsylvania and their American liaison for all the laughs. But just how long can that go on? Apparently, 1 season. Scott Bakula was an acceptable replacement for Keaton, but even Gary Watanabe reprising his role as Kaz Kuzuhiro did not save the show. But it was good to see Long Duck Dong in a regular role. As a huge fan of the original movie, the Starman series got my attention in 1986, but only one abrupt season was made that returned our alien to Earth 15 years after the original film. Taking on the appearance of another deceased human, Paul Forrester explains his non-Jeff Bridges visage as he helps his now 15-year-old son stay a step ahead of the FBI or UFO folks while searching for Jenny Hayden, his biological mother who's gone missing. The series also continues to see Paul learning more of what it was to be human. Scott, the teenage half-breed, is played by C.B. Barnes, the voice of Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid and the film version of Greg Brady, while Starman is now played by popular TV actor Robert Hayes. Hope he'd gotten over that drinking problem. Karen Allen's Jenny is replaced by Erin Gray when we find her during a 2-parter at the end of season 1. Erin is a great choice coming right off of Silver Spoons, and her role would have taken off had the 2nd season not been canceled, leaving any explanation as to why she went missing, resides in Arizona, has a new identity, and lives as an artist unanswered. Did you love Down and Out in Beverly Hills with Bette Midler, Richard Dreyfuss, and Nick Nolte? Well, be ready to relive it weekly and slowly turn those laugh-out-loud moments to painful cringes with eye rolls, as you are forced to believe the premise of the movie could continue on and on, week after week. Even with Hector Elizondo leading the family, the repetitive premise is a dead end. Fox was a new station and a little edgy, famously introducing us to The Simpsons, Married with Children, and the groundbreaking Werewolf. But at only half a season in, their newest show had the legacy of being the first show canceled by the fledgling Fox network. The sleeper hit, Dirty Dancing, is loved by millions. Even closet fans can't get enough of the message and the simplicity that made this unexpected film a hit. As an honored classic, we should have done whatever we could to secure this magical film be kept from being soiled by sequels or series. Sadly, it got both. But it was 1988 when the first spin-off of the movie reared its ugly head. A TV series loosely based on the movie, and I mean very loosely based, should have been put out of its misery before broadcast. Baby is not Frances Houseman, but Frances Kellerman, suddenly a relative of the Kellerman resort owner. Huh? She also works at the Catskills Resort during the same summer of '63 from the movie. Huh? In charge of the talent, she is now Johnny's boss, and the one-season wonder simply retells, although poorly, the strained relationship and growing trust between the pair that would lead to an obvious conclusion. A will they won't they story that, newsflash, we already know they do. There would be no 2nd season to find out, as it was canceled after 12 lackluster episodes for simply sucking and taking something sacred and peeing on it. Enough said.
I tell you, Valiant, the whole thing stinks like yesterday's diapers.
Just like the GungHo series, Baby Boom takes a perfectly acceptable 80s comedy and tries to regurgitate what made the film likable, but repackage it each week in the same paper with the same ribbon. More of the 1980s trials of balancing motherhood with the tribulations faced by the modern working woman. It might as well have been called Groundhog's Day. Kate Jackson is an almost seamless recast of Diane Keaton, but there isn't enough material to keep audiences hanging on and coming back week after week. and they don't. Joy Behar co-starred in this movie to TV failure, and baby went boom. I never knew Joy Behar worked, like ever. But it was a different time, and the dilemma to be gifted a kid when not prepared while you continue your corporate climb was new, and took a lot more courage to fight for your place with a power suit and sneakers. 13 episodes were aired, but the network couldn't even stomach it after 10, and broadcast episodes 8, 9, and 10 randomly during summer 1989 after promising a hiatus for retooling right before Christmas 1988. By the end of summer, the network wanted to forget there were even 3 more episodes and figured you had forgotten Baby Boom even existed, and lucky for them, we had. Speaking of women in business, the 1980s corporate world was a bitch world with shoulder pads and hair closer to heaven. This was never so perfectly showcased than in the hit movie with Sigourney Weaver, Harrison Ford, and Melanie Griffith, Working Girl, and in some respects, its loosely based sequel TV series. Luckily, they tried picking up right where the movie left off, hoping the continuing adventures of Tess McGill would keep audiences returning to the small screen. I think people were satisfied, though, with the ending of the movie and accepted the happily ever after. All would be well for our protagonist. And that seemed to be the case when the other main characters who made the film memorable were nowhere to be seen, and Working Girl, the TV show, became another workplace comedy that no one tuned in for. Bright new star Sandra Bullock was in the lead role, because, well, she's such a dead ringer for Melanie Griffith, am I right? Working Girl didn't even get the same respect as Baby Boom, with only 8 of their 12 episodes being aired, but if you saw it, you'd understand why ending it abruptly might just as well have been, as I like to say,
It was a mercy killing.
just admitting this TV show existed feels dirty. Was the show waiting 4 years to debut after the film inspiration its downfall? Or quite possibly was it the original idea Parker Lewis Can't Lose, that has some similarities to Ferris, didn't try to live up to any expectations it could never deliver on? The actor playing Ferris did an admirable job, and surprisingly, the first episode is fully meta by acknowledging the existence of the movie about the TV Ferris's life. Then it becomes a high school sitcom with wacky storylines that involve all the characters from the film. The changes of age, location, parents' names are fairly innocuous, but personality changes from the school secretary to Ferris's sister Jeannie are the biggest departures. And with the poor reception by episode 4, everyone's asking, is anyone watching?
Anyone? Anyone?
Jennifer Aniston is a delight to see in the role that Jennifer Grey did marvelously, but she wasn't given the same characterization and direction we hope to see by Ferris's always put-upon sister having to deal with her brother being the favorite. While Parker Lewis ran 3 seasons, Ferris barely survived 1990 and was cut after 13.
Bueller?
For anyone who remembers network TV seasons, summer was a time for reruns, but not for Bill and Ted. Wait, is that the Target lady in tie-dye? That pageboy haircut is the best they could do, huh? Well, summer was the best these 2 slackers could do in a one-dimensional rehash of their original film hit, Excellent Adventure. You'd think a summer schedule with no competition would boost you up to the top of the ratings, especially having just come off their sweeping success of the second film, Bogus Journey. Alas, that was not to be. If only 7 episodes don't tell you something, they flunked out of network television, and their cartoon incarnation fared far better on Saturday mornings. Ugh, embarrassing. A 1990 TV show based on one of John Hughes' non-high school angst films, the John Candy comedy classic strayed too far from the source material, starting with killing off the kids' parents. Kevin Meaney was Buck, and because of their time slot against MacGyver, uttering "you suck" for the first time on TV, and a move to Friday nights, the nail in the coffin had been hammered, with only 16 of 22 episodes aired. There were plenty more epic fails in 1990. The charm didn't materialize for Ron Howard's Parenthood TV spin-off like it had for his original Steve Martin-led film. Even with David Arquette, Thora Birch, and Leonardo DiCaprio in this series of family dynamic snippets, the show was a one-season letdown. And then, in 2010, the story got a second chance with Craig T. Nelson in the lead, and amidst all of this junk, Parenthood got a reprieve. You know, sometimes a movie to TV show only gets a pilot and is mercifully stopped from going any further. That was the case with Steel Magnolias. The pilot did air in 1990, based directly on the 1989 movie, and picks up where the film left off. Shelby, still dead, is not in the series, but every other zany Southern Fried character appears in this TV movie pilot that was spared from being an embarrassment on a weekly basis. If I saw this series come to fruition, I'd have one thing to say.
Do I just want to hit something? I want to hit it hard!
You can never beat the original quotable lines of the classic Steel Magnolias. Overall, 1990 to 92 had it bad. If you want dumpster fire, then try looking into the troubled history of Baby Talk from 1991, based on the hit Look Who's Talking film franchise. No other time in TV have I seen so many canceled shows and unaired episodes. Lots of fodder for those lost media YouTubers to catch up on. Oh, and there might have been a couple of standout good ideas, but not every success on the silver screen translate to the boob tube with the same triumph. Some of these may have been slightly entertaining to be sure, but none really capture the one-moment magic of their original big screen predecessors. There are those TV shows that ended up overshadowing their cinema inspirations, like MASH. But then there are others that surprise us with inexplicable longevity. Making a film into a TV show never seems like a good idea, and yet there were some, only a handful, that surprised us with unexpected lifespans. Private Benjamin for 3 seasons. Maybe it was Eileen Brennan's Captain Lewis character that kept this one marching. And then there's 9 to 5. Could it be that Rachel Ann Parton as Dora Lee, the part her older sister Dolly made famous, had audiences tuning in for 5 years? A film from 1985 spawns a TV show 9 years later. Why? Because of Generation Y. By 1994, someone thought a fan-favorite film, like Weird Science, should be introduced to millennials. It'll never work. But it lasted 5 seasons. It was on the USA Network, so there was that. Alas, 1994 is just a little too far out of my Gen experience jurisdiction. But there were more where these came from. It is amazing that so many loved and respected classic films from the Gen experience turned out poop for TV. But it isn't a surprise either. Which of these did you remember watching, and were you crushed about any cancellations? I dare you to let us all know which were your favorites from this bunch, or which did you love to loathe. Feel free to add others I didn't include in this little retrospective of favorite films and their failed TV spin-offs. You'll find such awesome content here in the Gen Experience, the era that gave us Swatch Watch wall clocks. Look around the channel before you go, and even stop by the store to peruse some incredible designs of my own. If you clicked like or even felt like supporting me with a little subscribe, you're my hero, and I thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll come back soon. Until next time.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!